Hello friends, if you look at this poem by Pablo Neruda, you will think it's very simple. I said it is very simple, written in free verse. No rhythm, no such complicated things as we say about poems, nothing of that sort. Anybody can just read it and understand. But the poem actually presents before us the whole theory of imagination. See the 7 points I have written here. We will discuss this point by point and you can see that. The way in which someone gets inspired. See, it's not that you deliberately ask for inspiration. You will not get it. That is very interesting. Suppose you sit down, you get up in one morning, take a diary and say, now today I am going to become a poet. It will never happen. Sometimes you say, I don't want to become a poet, but then you will become a poet. See, you understand that? That is how. It is something that happens without your permission, without you knowing it. It has no time, place, no fixed time, no fixed place, none of these things. It comes, so we can say. It simply comes. Understand that? That is inspiration. Sometimes you want to write a poem or you want to write a song. You ask these people who write songs and poems and so on, when did you do this? Did you do this with preparation, prior preparation? They said, no, nothing of this. Sometimes we get up at midnight and start writing. with no need of any homework or any such thing. It simply happens. That's point number 1 to note about this poem also. Imagination, or the power of imagination, or the inspiration for writing or for producing creative work. It comes, even the author does not know when, where and how. Understand? That is the nature of poetic inspiration. Second point in this poetry is a take lesson point. Sources of inspiration. How do you get it? Sometimes you may get it in the winter season, when everything is bleak, nothing grows. See that? When everybody is sleeping, you find no activity in the world. Sometimes inspiration comes at that time. Or a river. A river can inspire you. You look at the river. How many times we have seen the river? You are taken bath in the river. But you haven't become a poet, sorry. But sometimes it happens. You can become a poet just by looking at the river. Or streets where people go here and there without any form, where there is a lot of disorganized type of life that can sometimes bring you imagination or inspiration. But night it can be. When everybody is sleeping, simply just look at the sky. You find the galaxy or the Milky Way, then immediately you get an inspiration. Or revolutions. See, Wordsworth was inspired by French Revolution. Nature. And most of this, Changampada for example, our own dearest poet, Changampada. Nature. Malarani Kadu thinking. So it can be a train, a railway station, a classroom. So we cannot say what exactly are the sources of inspiration, we cannot say. Third point is, how does inspiration appear? It can appear in the form of voices. or it can just words. Somebody said something and then immediately you are inspired. Or even silence. You are without moving, without doing anything, you sit. It is also good not to do anything. There is an advertisement, some days you might have come across. Violent fires, that is revolutions. Or it can also be caused by loneliness. You are all alone. Inspiration can appear. The fourth point is what happens when inspired. The beginning of the inspiration, nothing is clear. No words. You are inspired. You take paper and a pen and start writing. No words will come. No names will appear. Your eyes will become blind. Then you can't see anything. And then the soul starts moving. That's what I said. What happens? In the beginning, nothing is clear. That's why, what happens, people, you write, you get a poem in the printed form. If you go back, you will see the manuscripts number, something like 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Stitching and restitching you have to do. Correction, then throwing away, tearing the paper and throwing away, then writing again. So a lot of things you have to do. So that's what he says. The beginning it is all unclear. Even titles they change. Famous poet T.S. Eliot, The Wasteland. That was not the first title, another. He do the police in different voices. That was the title. See that the published, when the poem was published, you have no idea about that title, but now it is The Wasteland. So it is moved. And then what does the poet do? He deciphers. Decipher. Tries to find meaning in nothing. Tries to find meaning in names, in no words. See that? He deciphers the fire. The fire here means the imagination. That's what the poet does. It all comes formless. Imagination first appears, inspiration first appears formless. No form. No words, no names, no faces. See? You become blind. Then the soul starts moving. And moving means the inspiration or the imagination is being deciphered. Means finds to find meaning. The fire is imagination. In the beginnings what happens? All nonsense, knows nothing. You write, as I just now told you, whatever you write, that will be. You try to understand, you try to decipher, try to find out, try to discover the meaning of imagination. What is in it? What does imagination tell you? You try to find out, you will find nothing. All nonsense, all blindness, no words, no face, nothing of that. Knows nothing. The beginning it will be nonsense. Understand? James Joyce, very famous novelist. His novels in the beginning, when he took to the publishers, they threw it away. And same with Bernard Shaw. So many like this. They start with the nonsense, but they end up as great souls. And that's what happens in the next 7th point. When fully inspired, what happens? Heavens open. The universe is opened up. You become a celestial being. Means a heavenly creature, celestial. A heavenly creature. The poet becomes an infinitesimal being. Becomes very small. In the face of this universe, he becomes very, very small. An atom. But it is very powerful now. Wheeling with the stars. So the poet, the fully inspired poet, he wheels with the stars. What does that mean? He moves among the stars. He swims among the stars. And he floats on the wings of the wind. That means there is no end to his imagination. Imagination is such a powerful vehicle, we can say. Or it is a power, the power of imagination. Inspiration. Once inspired, nobody can stop him. He becomes a celestial, heavenly being, not earthly, and he moves among the stars. Understand that? See, very familiar film songs written by our Vaira. Just imagine. The recent one, which is very familiar to Chandra Kalabham, just E Manohara Dheeram, etc. Or your familiar poems you take. Anyone know? Isn't it? Famous lines of Keats, John Keats, heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Shakespeare's To Be or Not to Be. So that, like that I can give any number of examples. You yourself know, in Malayalam or English. Any language for that matter. So, first point not about inspiration is that it comes, nobody knows when, where, how. There is no program for that. It can pick anybody in the streets, while sleeping, while working, while shouting slogans, while moving along the streets, while looking at the river, while watching people, while traveling by a train, any time it can happen. And who will be inspired? Nobody can say. That is, nobody can say. And then what happens? Probable sources of imagination or inspiration. And in the beginning what happens? It's all nonsense. Then what happens when you are fully inspired? You become a celestial being. That's why Shelley said, no. Poets are legislators of the world. Not a particular country, but the legislators of the world. That's why Shelley said. All these people. All the great poets are really great legislators, or novelists, dramatists. Understand that? So inspiration. You know Shakespeare's inspiration, isn't it? He ran away from his village because he was afraid of being punished for poaching, stealing. That time he was not inspired. But London, he gets inspiration in London. Then begins all those great, famous tragedies. Thus he becomes the greatest poet and the greatest dramatist that the world has ever seen. He became a celestial being. So this is imagination. The power of imagination. Who gets it? When does one get it? How it comes? When it comes in the beginning, how it will be? And when fully inspired, what will happen? You become a celestial being or a heavenly being. This is the theme of the subject matter of this poem written by Pablo Neruda, poetry. I told you the other day, poetry means poems written by a person versus poetry. But here poetry means poetic inspiration. I hope that things are clear to you. Tomorrow onwards we will take up the poem line by line, and then describe. Keep these points in your mind. Understand that? And then things will become much more clear to us, me and as well as you. So till then, bye.